For our AP question, it says each of 25 adult women was asked to provide her own height, which is y, in inches, and the height, x, in inches of her father. The scatter plot below displays the results. Only 22 of the 25 pairs are distinguishable because some of the xy pairs were the same. The equation of the least squares regression line is y hat equals 35.1 plus 0.427x. A says draw the least squares regression line on the scatter plot above. To do this, I'm going to be using the least squares regression line equation. So using this equation, I'll be plugging in numbers for x and coming out with numbers for y. So these are the numbers I plugged in for x, 60, 70, and 76, and I got these for my y. Now using these coordinates, I'm going to plot them onto my graph. Using my coordinates, I got this as my least squares regression line. B says one father's height was x equals 67 inches and his daughter's height was y equals 61 inches. Circle the point on the scatter plot above that represents this pair and draw the segment on the scatter plot that corresponds to the residual for it. Give a numerical value for the residual. Here I circled the point on the scatter plot that represents the pair, and I drew the segment on the scatter plot that corresponds to the residual for it. Now to find the numerical value for the residual, I'll be using my calculator to show you. So using the formula given to us, we'll be plugging in the number 67 for x. 67 is the father's height. So to plug this in, we will do 35.1 plus 0.427 times 67. And we get 63.709. Once we find our y hat, we want to find our residual. So in order to do that, we have the equation r equals actual, which is y, minus predicted, which is y hat. So we already found our predicted, which is 63.709. Since the actual is y, which is the daughter's height, we have 61 minus the predicted of 63.709, and that gives us r equals negative 2.709. Since the r value is negative, we can tell that it is below the least squares regression line. C says suppose the point x equals 84, y equals 71 is added to the data set. Would the slope of the least squares regression line increase, decrease, or remain about the same? Explain. Well, I plotted this point on my graph, and by looking at it, I don't think that the regression line would increase or decrease. I think it would remain the same because it seems to go along the trend of the line, so I think the slope would remain the same. D says, would the correlation increase, decrease, or remain about the same? Explain. Looking at this scatter plot, I would say that the correlation increases. Since this scatter plot has a positive correlation, it means that the value of one variable increases, the value of the other one does as well. With this point, it doesn't decrease and it doesn't remain the same. It actually goes along with the line, causing it to increase.